the turn of time, who cured the world, spirit, light, into the earthly stream of beings. Night, darkness, had ended its prevail. The brightest light streamed into human souls, light that warms the poor shepherds' hearts, light that enlightens the wise kings' heads. Divine light, Christ Son, warm our hearts, enlighten our heads, so that good will be what we through our hearts rise, what we through our heads purposefully want to lead. Hello, I'm very lucky that you join the video again. We today want to work on the esoteric lessons which has been given by Rudolf Steiner 1924 for the first class of the School of Spiritual Science. And it will begin with some words from Rudolf Steiner to the Anthroposophic Society, to the Anthroposophic movement, to the members of the Anthroposophic Society. And I will also read this part of the lesson because I think all of us who wants to work on their own knowledge of being a spiritual being, of who know that we are living in a world of spirituality, who want to work and fight for the rights of the humanity to have a human future, are something like the members of an anthroposophic movement which will work for the future of a spiritual human world. And like you know, in our world we have a lot of beasts, demons, devils who nowadays in a very lieful and evil way try to stop the human being to enter the spiritual world. So today we will start with lesson 7. My dear friends, quite a large number of new members of this school are present, and I am therefore obligated to again say a few words about its principles. First of all, this school represents the impulse of the anthroposophical movement, which was renewed here during the Christmas conference at the Goetheanum. Previously, there were several esoteric circles. All these esoteric circles must be gradually absorbed into this school, because with the Christmas conference a new spirit was introduced into the anthroposophical movement insofar as it streams through the Anthroposophical Society. I have repeatedly spoken, also outside of Dornach about what the difference is between the anthroposophical movement before the Christmas conference of 1923 and the one we know have since Christmas. Previously, the Anthroposophical Society was a kind of administrative body for anthroposophical teaching and content. Within the Anthroposophical Society, anthroposophy was, so to speak, cultivated. Since Christmas, anthroposophy is not only cultivated, it is also carried out, meaning that everything which passes through the Anthroposophical Society as activity, as thought, is anthroposophy itself. The renewal which has taken place must be clearly grasped, my dear friends, and above all it must be grasped with deep earnestness, for a distinction exists between the Anthroposophical Society in general and the esoteric school within the Anthroposophical Society. The Anthroposophical Society will, as a matter of course and according to the principle of openness, not be able to demand anything more from the members than that they honestly recognize what anthroposophy is and that they are in certain sense listeners to what anthroposophy says and what they receive from it, what their heart, their souls can make of it. It is different as far as the school, the esoteric school is concerned. Those who become members of this school declare that they want to be true representatives of anthroposophical movement. In this esoteric school, which will gradually be expanded to include 3 classes, the same freedom must of course apply, as it does to every member of the Anthroposophical Society, but freedom must also apply to the Executive Council at the Goetheanum, which is responsible for this school. In this case, it means that only those who are recognized by the school as true members can be recipients of what the school teaches. Therefore, whatever a member of the school does should have the effect of reflecting on anthroposophy in the world, and it must belong to the competence of the Executive Council to remove a member of it considers that he cannot be a representative of the anthroposophical movement. The relationship must be mutual. Therefore, more and more a serious, in a certain sense, strict spirit will have to be utilized in the management of the school. Otherwise, the anthroposophical movement cannot advance if we do not feel that the school is like building a rock to support anthroposophy. It is going to be very difficult. To the members of this school must know that they must adapt to those difficulties. They are not merely anthroposophists, they are members of an esoteric school. and it must be an inner obligation to consider the executive committee as it is presently constituted as an esoteric entity. This is not generally understood, so something must be done to bring it to the members' attention. It is saying much that an executive committee has been esoterically formed. Furthermore, all those who consider themselves to be legitimate members of this school see the school as not having been founded by man, but in fact by the will of the world's presently reigning spiritual powers, something which has been instituted from the spiritual world, and which intends to act accordingly, which feels responsible to the spiritual world alone. Therefore, anything which indicates that a member is not taking the school seriously must lead to the cancellation of that person's membership. It is a fact that Negligency has entered into the Anthroposophical Society to a marked degree in recent years. That is cases. It is one of the tasks for the members of this school. We want to feel responsible even for the words we speak. Above all, we should feel responsible that every word we speak is tested to the extent that we know it is true. For untruthfulness, even when derived from what is called good intentions, is destructive in an occult movement. There must be no illusion about this. It must be completely clear. It is not a question of good intention, which are often taken very lightly, but of objective truth. Among the first duties of an esoteric student is that he does not merely feel obligated to say what he thinks is true, but that he feels obligated to determine that what he says is really objectively true. For only when we serve the divine spiritual powers, whose forces stream through this school, in the sense of objective truth, will we be able to steer through all the difficulties which will assail anthroposophy. What I will now say is within the circle of the school, and what is said within the circle of the school remains within the circle of the school. We may not forget that many people are saying something like the following. Certain influential persons are saying, those who represent the principles of the Roman Church will do everything in their power to make the individual states of the former German Empire independent, and out of them, I am only reporting, with the exception of the predominance of Prussia, to re-establish the Holy Roman Empire, which of course, when it is established by such prominence, will spread its power over the neighboring regions. Then, they say, we will need to completely destroy from the roots up the most dangerous, the worst movements. And they add, if the re-establishment of the Holy Roman Empire is not successful, and it will be successful, but if not, we will find other means to completely destroy from the roots the most resisting, the most dangerous movement of the present. And they are the anthroposophical movement and the movement of religious renewal, the Christian community. And quite a month, almost were but time, and you can see that the difficulties are not less, but every week greater, that what I say is well founded. I wish today to speak from the heart to those who consider the membership in this school with heartfelt seriousness. Only by such earnestness as members of the school can we construct the necessary foundation for navigating through the future difficulties. You can see from this that anthroposophy, the movement for religious renewal, is only a branch of it, is taken more seriously by the opposition than by many of the members, because when one can learn that the Holy Roman Empire, which fell in 1806, is to be reinstated in order to eliminate such a movement, that means that it is taken very seriously indeed. What is important is whether a movement is founded from the Spirit and not. My dear friends, how many members it has, but which force is instilled in it directly from the spiritual world. The opponents see that it contains a strong inner force. Therefore, they choose sharp, strong rather than weak means. Here I want to say some words. You see what has been going on in Middle Europe since that time Rudolf Steiner has spoken that words. We have seen a party called National Socialists, and when they entered the power of Germany, they tried to destroy all books of anthroposophy, to forbid that Christian community and also the Anthroposophical Society. And you see how much destroying has been coming from outside and inside Middle Europe during the Second World War. The considerations of these class lessons, my dear friends, have been primarily concerned with what can be told about the encounter with the guardian of the threshold, the encounter which is the first experience towards the attainment of real and true supersensible knowledge. Today I would like to add something to what has already been considered. It is not possible to claim that the encounter with the guardian of threshold has been successful until one has experienced what it means to be outside the physical body, with the human eye and the astral body, because when the human being is enclosed within the physical body, the only things he can perceive is his surroundings are those which he perceives with the instruments of his physical body. And through the instruments of the physical body, only the sensible world can be perceived, which is a reflection of a spiritual world. One which does not, however, reveal the senses, what it is a reflection of. Generally speaking, it is not difficult for a person to leave the physical body. He does so every time he falls asleep. He is then outside the physical body. But when he is asleep outside the physical body, his consciousness is suppressed to the point of being unconscious. Only illusory, or perhaps even not illusory, dreams rise up from the unconsciousness. But through the attainment of higher knowledge, leaving the physical body takes place in fully conscious deliberateness, so that when outside the physical body the person perceives his surroundings exactly as he perceives the physical world with his senses, when within the physical body he perceives the spiritual world while outside the physical body. But the human being is at first unconsciously asleep. Under normal circumstances, he is not aware of what he could see when outside the physical body. And the reason of this is that he is protected from approaching the spiritual world unprepared. If he is sufficiently prepared, what happens then? When he is at the abyss between the sensory world and the spiritual world, this guardian of the threshold extracts his true human essence, assuming he is prepared as described in the previous lessons, which can then fly over the abyss with the means indicated in the mantric verses. And then from beyond the threshold he can behold his own sensory physical being. That is the first powerful impression of true knowledge, my dear friends, when the guardian of the threshold can say to the human being, "See, that is how you are over there as you appear in the physical world. Here with me you are as your inner being really is." And now meaningful words sound out again from the guardian of the threshold, that the person is called upon, how that he is on the other side of the abyss, how differently he sees himself on the other physical side. He sees himself differently. He sees himself as a tripartite being. He sees himself as a tripartite being which expresses itself physically in thinking, feeling and willing. In reality, they are three humans. The thinking one, the feeling one, the willing one, which exist in every person and are only held together in one by the physical body in the physical world. and what the person sees there resounds from the lips of the guardian of the threshold in the following way. Oh, look, the three, they are the one. When you are the human shape, in the earthly existence sphere, or also human imprint, one must translate the words from the occult language. Oh, look, the three, they are the one. When you are the human imprint in the earthly existence sphere, experience the head's world shape. Feel the heart's world's beat. Think the limbs' world's force. They are the three which as the one in earth's existence live. And it will be written on the board. Oh, look, the three, they are the one. When you are the human imprint in the earthly existence sphere. Experience the head's world shape. Feel the heart's world's beat. Think the limbs' world's force. They are the three which as the one in earth's existence live. The guardian of the threshold is indicating here how the three which separate from each other once the person leaves the physical body, how the three look in relation to the physical body. The vision is directed to the physical body, to the head, heart and limbs. And the guardian of the threshold says, if you observe the human head in its true cosmic significance, it is a mirror image of the heavenly universe. You must look into the distance when the universe seems to reach its boundary. In reality, it is bounded by the spirit, not as an naively appears physically to be. In looking up, you must recall that your round head is a true image of the heavenly universe. And we add here, being conscious of the mantric words. Experience the head's world shape. The sign is added here, which encourage us to pause at this line of the mantric verse in order to envision the upwards direction to the cosmic vastness and the course, that direction is always upwards from anywhere on the earth. Feel the heart's world's beat. Through this world heavenly place, the cosmic rhythm resounds as cosmic music. When we hear the human heart beating, it seems as if this human heart were only beating as a result of the human organism's interior processes. In reality, what beats in the heart is the counterpoint of the world rhythm, which has circulated not only for thousands, but for millions of years. Therefore, pause again. The guardian of the threshold says, at the words feel, the heart's world beat, and feel what works in the heart upwards as well as downwards. Corresponding, the sign is strong. The triangle pointing downward combines with one pointing upwards. Think the limbs world force. This world force is the one concentrated from below by gravity and other earthly forces in our thinking, which as earthly thinking is only capable of understanding the earthly, we must look downwards to grasp what streams out from the earth to work in man. Now we pause again at think the limbs world's force in the triangle pointing downwards. And we will feel the guardian's words as they should affect the human heart, the human soul today, if one activates these mantic verses in the appropriated way. Oh, look, the three, they are the one. When you are in the human imprint, in the earthly existence sphere, experience the head's world shape. The verse is spoken while making the sign before the head. Experience the world shape. Feel the heart's world beat. One speaks the verse while making the sign before the breast. Feel the heart's world beat. Think the limbs world force. One speaks the verse while making the sign pointing downwards. Think the limbs world force. They are the three which as the one in earth's existence live. And you should then try, after letting this mantric verses work on the soul, to make the senses subdued, close the eyes, hear nothing with the ears, perceive nothing and have darkness around you for a while, though that you are living totally in the atmosphere through which these words pass. And in this way you will transport yourself to the sphere in initiation which in all reality can be realized during the encounter with the guardian of the threshold. This is one of the ways by which one can take the first step beyond the threshold. But we must let the guardian's next words work upon us with great earnestness. These words indicate that once we have crossed the threshold, everything is different from the sensory world. In the sensory world, we think that the sight of thinking and mental images is the human head, and so it is for the sensory world. But this thinking in the head is always mixed a little bit with the willing, something which is also perceptible for normal consciousness, because when we move from one thought to another, we must use the will, just as we use it when moving on an arm or leg, or when willing in generally. But it is a fine, delicate willing with delicate willing which transfers one thought to another. When we are in the sensory world, the whole extent of thinking and a small amount of willing are bound together in the head. As soon as we cross over the threshold and encounter the guardian, it is the reverse. A small amount of thinking and much widespread willing is bound to the head. And in this willing, which otherwise sleeps in man, we sense the spirit which forms the head from out of the cosmos, the heavens, as its spherically shaped mirror image in all its details. Therefore, once we have crossed beyond the threshold, the guardian calls out the following words, and they are also written on board. The head's spirit, you can will it. And now we see that willing is something quite different from what is previously was. Previously, the senses were the transmitters of sense impressions, and one was not aware that the will goes through the eyes, through the ears, that the will goes through the sense of warmth and through every other sense as well. Now we see that everything the eye experiences as multiple colors, what the ear hears as multiple sounds, what man perceives as warmth and cold, as rough and smooth, smells and tastes, and so on, is all will in the spiritual world. And the writing continues on board. And willing will become for you the senses multiple heaven weaving. If on seeing the head from the other side of the threshold, one recognizes how will goes through the head and how the sense represent will. Then he will realize how the heart contains the soul and how one can feel the soul within the heart just as he can will the head's spirit. When observing the head, and now we know that when thinking is not considered as a function of the head, but as a function of the heart, of the soul, we realize that thinking does not belong to an individual, but to the world. Then one experiences cosmic life, world's life, the music of the spheres. And the second verse is written to the board. The heart's soul, you can feel it, and feeling will become for you the thinking's germinal waking world's life. You live in the seem appearance, not in the unsubstantial shining, but in the shining where the essence of the world appears. The head spirit, you can will it, and willing will become for you the senses manifold heavens weave. You weave in wisdom. Summing up the line, you weave in wisdom, summing up what pertains to the heart, soul, and feeling in the line, you live in the seem appearance. Just as you recognize the sense as will, you also recognize thinking as feeling in respect to cosmic being. When you consider the three which only in the sensory world are one. And thirdly, the guardian of the threshold adds. The third verse will be written on board. The limb's strength, you can think it. Now we have a complete reversal, whereas normally we consider thinking to be concentrated in the head. Here in the first verse, it is the will, as I previously explained, that is concentrated in the head. Feeling stays in the heart, where it is also felt to be in the sensory world, for the inner force of the heart goes over to the spiritual world. The limb's strength, you can think it. Now thinking is brought directly into connection with the limbs, the opposite of the sensory world. The writing on board continues, and thinking will become for you the will's dogged grasping, human striving. Thus willing becomes thinking. You strive in virtue. So we have the complete reversal in the spiritual world, as revealed to us by the guardian of the threshold. Whereas we normally differentiate willing, feeling, thinking from below upwards in man, on the other side of the threshold we differentiate man as the three will above in the head, feeling in the middle, thinking below at the limbs. We realize then how willing, concentrated in the head, is the weaving cosmic wisdom in which we live, how feeling is the cosmic shining seam appearance in which all the spirit beings glow, and how thinking observed in the limbs is human striving, which can be lived as human virtue. In the three appear before spiritual vision thus. The head's spirit, the heart's soul, the limb's strength. The mantric verse is built thus, and we must be aware of the inner congruence, and also aware that if we let the mantric verse work on us, the following will penetrate our being. Heavens weave, worlds live, human striving. These then are the guardian of thresholds words which accompany our spiritual vision of the three, which derive from the one, when we cross over into the world beyond the threshold. The head spirit, you can will it, and willing will become for you the senses manifold heavens weave. You weave in wisdom, the heart's soul, you can feel it, and feeling will become for you the thinking's germinal, waking world's life. You live in the seam appearance, the limb's strength, you can think it, and thinking will become for you the will's dogged grasping, human striving. You strive in virtue. These are the sensations which must flow through the soul if real knowledge is to be obtained. These are the admonitions which the guardian of the threshold lets resound at the moment when he also tells us, "Come in, the gate is open, you will become a real human." And it is written on the board, "Come in, the gate is open, you will become a real human." Those are the words which for thousands and thousands of years have resounded at all the gates to the spiritual world, admonishing and yet encouraging. Come in. The gate is open. You will become a real human. Just imagine, my sisters and brothers, that you say to yourself for the first time, I want to take the guardian of the threshold's words seriously. I recognize that I was not yet a human being. I recognize that I will become one through insight into the spiritual world. Image, my dear sisters and brothers, you say the second time, oh, I did not take the word seriously enough the first time. I must admit that I need not one but two of the stages from where I am now in order to become a true human being. And image, you say the third time, I recognize that I need three of the stages from the point where I now stand, and which I am not a true human, in order to become a true human being. The first admonition which you give to yourself is earnest. The second admonition is more earnest. But the third admonition must bear the most earnest impression of all. And if you can awake the threefold admonition of earnestness from the depths of your soul, then you will have an inkling of what it means to become a true human being through knowledge. And then you will return to the first admonition, as we will also do now, as a transforming verse in our soul. Oh, look, the three, they are the one. When you are the human imprint in the earthly existence, we're experience the head's world shape. Feel the heart's world's beat. Think the limbs' world's force. They are the three which, as the one in earth's existence, live. Thus, my sisters and brothers, has it resounded in the hearts of all who have striven for knowledge ever since there have been human beings on earth. There has been a pause in the striving since the dawn of the fifth post-Atlantean cultural epoch, according to the will of the divine spiritual identities who guide humanity. Their pause has come to an end. Now it is up to you to make human hearts open again in a worthy way to what the wise guides of humanity rise up to the vision of what works in the world as spirit. What as spirit works in the world, in humanity, as the crown of existence. And at the end I will speak the words of the first word. O man, know yourself, so resounds the world word. You hear its soul powerful, you feel its spirit vastness. Who speaks so world vastly? Who speaks so felt heartily? Does it act through space, distant radiation, in your senses being experience? Does it sound through time's wave weaves into your life's evolving stream? Is it you yourself who in space feeling, in experiencing time, creating the world, feeling foreign, sensing in space's emptiness of soul, because you have the force of thinking, losing in the time-destroying stream. Thank you very much.